For generations, the Inuit have honed an extraordinary ability, sourcing drinking water in one of the most unforgiving places on Earth. When temperatures drop as low as -80 degrees Fahrenheit, staying hydrated isn't as simple as lighting a fire or grabbing a handful of snow. Surviving in such extreme conditions demands knowledge, skill, and a deep understanding of the Arctic environment. At first glance, the solution seems obvious. Just melt ice or snow, right? But that assumption could be dangerously misleading. Let's dispel a common myth. Snow is not a readily available water source. Many believe you can simply scoop up fresh snow and eat it, but this seemingly harmless action could have severe consequences. The Inuit, through centuries of experience, have learned that consuming raw snow can be more harmful than helpful. The first danger is contamination. While the Arctic appears untouched, snow can still contain bacteria and viruses that pose health risks. But here's something even more surprising. Eating snow can actually lead to dehydration instead of hydration. Sounds contradictory, doesn't it? Here's why. Your body must expend energy to melt the snow and raise it to body temperature. In freezing conditions where staying warm is already a challenge, this additional energy loss can be dangerous, making an already harsh environment even more life-threatening. Surviving in the Arctic means knowing exactly where to find safe drinking water, and the Inuit have perfected the skill of choosing the right snow. Their preferred choice: fresh, untouched snow. Unlike older snow that has been sitting around collecting dirt, dust, and other impurities, fresh snow is significantly cleaner and safer for consumption. Over time, snow left on the ground absorbs all kinds of unwanted materials, making it a poor choice for hydration. Now, while it's common sense to steer clear of yellow snow, for reasons we'd rather not elaborate on, there are other, less obvious dangers hidden within different types of snow. One of the trickiest culprits is wind-blown snow. At first glance, it might seem like a pristine, untouched source of water, but looks can be deceiving. These snowdrifts often have compacted layers beneath the surface, trapping pollutants, dirt, and even bacteria over time. Think of wind-blown snow like a layered cake. What appears light and fluffy on top may conceal densely packed, contaminated layers beneath. The deeper the snowdrift, the more likely it has collected unwanted debris that could make it unsuitable for drinking. Not only does this compacted snow take longer to melt, but it also concentrates any impurities it has absorbed, making it a risky choice for survival. For the Inuit, selecting the right snow isn't just about safety. It's also about efficiency. In temperatures that can drop far below freezing, wasting valuable energy melting snow only to realize it's contaminated is not an option. Every decision in such an extreme environment can mean the difference between staying hydrated and facing dangerous dehydration. This deep understanding of snow conditions, developed over generations, has been key to surviving the Arctic's relentless challenges. When it comes to finding safe drinking water in the Arctic, the Inuit actually prefer ice over snow whenever possible. While it takes more effort to harvest, ice often provides a purer and more reliable water source. However, not all ice is the same, and through generations of experience, the Inuit have mastered the art of identifying the best ice for drinking. The ideal choice: clear ice. Unlike cloudy ice, which contains trapped air bubbles and potential impurities, clear ice forms in layers and is significantly cleaner. While cloudy ice isn't necessarily unsafe, it's far from the best option. When survival depends on hydration, why settle for anything less than the purest water source? One of the most fascinating skills the Inuit have developed is the ability to listen to ice. No, ice doesn't literally speak, but it does communicate in its own way. When struck, clear ice produces a sharp, ringing sound, similar to the chime of a crystal glass. Cloudy ice, on the other hand, makes a dull, muffled thud due to the air pockets trapped inside. This simple yet effective trick allows the Inuit to quickly determine the ice's quality before even attempting to harvest it. Then there's the matter of sea ice versus freshwater ice. The choice is obvious. Freshwater ice is the way to go. While sea ice might look appealing, it is loaded with salt and minerals that not only taste unpleasant, but can also contribute to dehydration. Although it can technically be consumed in emergencies, it's far from an ideal water source. If sea ice were a guest at a party, it'd be the one who shows up uninvited and refuses to leave. Tolerable in a pinch, but certainly not your first choice. This level of careful selection might seem excessive to those of us who have the luxury of clean water from a tap. But in the Arctic, every decision matters. Choosing the wrong ice isn't just an inconvenience. It can mean the difference between staying hydrated and suffering the severe consequences of dehydration. Over countless generations, the Inuits' methods have been refined to perfection, proving that sometimes traditional wisdom is the most reliable survival tool. Once the Inuit have carefully selected their snow or ice, the next challenge is just as daunting, melting it in an environment where even a deep breath turns to frost in midair. With temperatures plunging to -80 degrees Fahrenheit, starting a fire isn't as simple as striking a match. Instead, they have developed remarkably resourceful techniques to generate and sustain heat, even in these extreme conditions. Fire in the Arctic is more than just warmth, it's survival. At such frigid temperatures, traditional fire-starting methods become unreliable, and conventional fuels are scarce. The Inuit have mastered the art of melting ice in the most efficient way possible, ensuring they don't waste valuable resources in the process. One of their most ingenious solutions is the use of blubber lamps. These are no ordinary light sources. Blubber lamps are fueled by animal fat, typically from seals or whales harvested during hunting expeditions. When burned with a wick, the fat produces a steady, reliable flame, providing both warmth and illumination during the long Arctic nights. But more importantly, these lamps generate just enough heat to slowly melt snow or ice into precious drinking water. However, there are times when a blubber lamp alone isn't enough, and that's when the Inuits' fire-making skills truly shine. In an environment designed to make fire building nearly impossible, they have mastered techniques to create flames using flint and steel. Striking these together produces sparks, which can ignite small dry materials like moss, grass, or birch bark, though finding such materials in the Arctic is about as easy as spotting a sunbather in winter. Every scrap of fuel is a prized possession, carefully gathered and stored for when it's needed most. Even the melting process itself is an art. Apply too much heat too quickly, and the water can develop an unpleasant taste. Too little heat, and the wait for a drink stretches unbearably long. Through generations of experience, the Inuit have refined the perfect balance, positioning their melting pots just right to maximize efficiency. Imagine the frustration of waiting an extra minute for your coffee to heat in the microwave. Now, picture spending hours melting ice just for a single drink. This process has instilled in the Inuit an extraordinary level of patience and resourcefulness. Every drop of fuel must be used wisely, every moment of heat must be optimized, and every action must be deliberate. From striking the first spark to finally holding a cup of drinkable water, the entire process can take several hours. But in the Arctic, where life depends on careful planning and survival skills, this isn't just about quenching thirst, it's about enduring one of the most extreme environments on Earth. When trying to melt ice in the Arctic, finding shelter from the relentless winds isn't just about comfort, it's a matter of survival. With winds howling at speeds reaching 60 miles per hour, any exposed flame would be snuffed out in seconds, making it impossible to melt snow or ice for drinking water. The Inuit, masters of Arctic survival, have long perfected the art of working with nature rather than against it. One of their greatest innovations, the igloo. Far more than just a shelter, the igloo is an engineering marvel that provides a stable, insulated environment ideal for melting ice. You might be surprised to learn that while the temperature outside can plunge to a bone-chilling -40 degrees Fahrenheit, the inside of an igloo can hover around a relatively mild 32 degrees Fahrenheit, just from body heat alone. Introduce a blubber lamp or a small fire, and suddenly, The igloo transforms into a functional, even comfortable, workspace. The secret lies in its dome shape, which efficiently traps heat while allowing smoke to escape through a small vent at the top. This design ensures that warmth circulates evenly without suffocating the occupants. But what happens when the Inuit don't have time to build an igloo? In these situations, they rely on natural windbreaks. Large boulders, cliffs, or ice formations become makeshift shelters, providing enough protection from the elements to keep a fire burning. It's a bit like finding the perfect spot at a windy beach, except instead of shielding yourself from blowing sand, you're fighting to keep your drinking water from freezing solid before you can even take a sip. Now, let's talk about timing. Melting enough water for an entire family isn't something that happens quickly. For a household of 5, the process can take anywhere from 2 to 3 hours. That's assuming they're working with good quality snow or ice, and everything goes smoothly. If conditions aren't ideal, the process can take even longer. Think of it like making a homemade stew. If you rush it, the results won't be great. The Inuit understand this well, which is why they have developed efficient methods for melting water as quickly and effectively as possible. Inside their shelters, they often set up multiple melting stations. While one pot is working its way from ice to liquid, another batch of snow is being prepped. It's a continuous cycle that requires constant attention. If the water is left to cool too much, it refreezes, wasting precious effort. If it's heated too quickly, it can take on an unpleasant taste, not to mention the risk of wasting valuable fuel. Every step in the process is carefully managed to make the most of limited resources, and the result of all this patience and precision, some of the purest water on Earth. When you think about it, the water the Inuit drink starts as Arctic snow and ice, formed from precipitation in one of the cleanest environments on the planet. While modern water treatment plants ensure safe drinking water, they can't replicate the crisp, untouched purity of naturally melted Arctic ice. It's like comparing a store-bought tomato to one grown in your backyard. There's just no competition. Although melting snow and ice was the most reliable way to obtain water in the Arctic winter, the Inuit also discovered something incredible: natural water sources hidden beneath the ice, flowing even in the dead of winter. At first, it sounds impossible. How could there be liquid water in a place where nearly everything is frozen solid? Yet the Inuit have long known that certain areas hold unfrozen water even when the surrounding landscape is locked in ice. These hidden water sources exist due to geothermal heat and natural pressure. In certain locations, heat from the Earth's core rises just enough to prevent water from freezing entirely, creating underground pockets of liquid. The Inuit became experts at locating these rare and invaluable sources, passing their knowledge from generation to generation. And this wasn't just luck or random discovery. Inuit communities maintained an almost encyclopedic knowledge of their landscapes, carefully mapping out where these hidden water sources could be found. Some of these natural springs have been used for over 1,000 years, longer than many of Europe's grandest castles have stood. Think about that for a moment. While medieval Europe was constructing cathedrals and fortresses, the Inuit were perfecting the art of survival, ensuring they knew exactly where to find life-sustaining water in one of the harshest places on Earth. To access these underground reserves, they would carefully chip away at the ice, creating holes that could be reopened when needed. These locations weren't chosen at random. There were subtle signs that hinted at the presence of liquid water below. The Inuit learned to read these signs with incredible precision. A slight depression in the snow, an unusual texture in the ice, or even a faint wisp of steam rising from a seemingly frozen surface could all indicate a hidden water source. As winter transitioned into spring, their options expanded. As temperatures climbed, even slightly, seasonal springs would begin to flow again. These naturally occurring water sources became critical lifelines, offering fresh, clean water without the need for hours of melting ice and snow. In many ways, these springs were like nature's water fountains, bubbling up from the ground just when they were needed most. For the Inuit, Understanding and utilizing these hidden water sources was yet another example of how their deep knowledge of the Arctic environment allowed them to thrive where few others could even hope to survive. While natural water sources were a crucial part of the Inuit survival strategy, they weren't always accessible. The Arctic landscape is vast, unpredictable, and constantly changing. The Inuit were often on the move, following seasonal hunting patterns, tracking herds of caribou, or seeking out better fishing locations. This meant they couldn't rely solely on previously known water sources and had to maintain their ability to melt ice and snow whenever necessary. It's similar to having a favorite coffee shop. You might love stopping by when you're in the area, but you still need to know how to make a cup at home. For the Inuit, knowing how to melt ice efficiently wasn't just a convenience. It was a life-or-death necessity. Their ability to locate and remember hidden water sources demonstrated an incredible understanding of their environment. These weren't just places marked on a map, but living knowledge passed down through countless generations. Each freshwater spring or underground water pocket wasn't merely a convenient resource. It was a vital survival tool, ensuring that families had access to clean drinking water no matter where they traveled. But once they had their hard-earned liquid water, a new problem arose, keeping it from freezing again. After all, no one wants to repeat the painstaking melting process every time they need a drink. To solve this, the Inuit developed ingenious storage solutions, making use of every resource at their disposal. Animal skins, particularly those from seals and caribou, became their preferred water containers. This wasn't a random choice. These animals had evolved natural insulation to survive the Arctic cold, and their skins retained some of those properties even after being processed. When properly prepared, these skins could hold water for extended periods without freezing. The combination of fur and fat created a natural thermos, keeping the water liquid far longer than a standard open container. This knowledge, refined through generations, allowed the Inuit to store water in ways that minimized waste and maximized survival efficiency. Inside their igloos, the Inuit established designated storage areas for their water containers. Since an igloo could maintain a temperature just above freezing, it became an ideal environment for storing liquid water. Think of it as nature's refrigerator, cold enough to prevent spoilage but not so cold that everything turned into an ice block. When traveling, however, they had to get even more creative with water storage. One of the most effective methods involved carrying water containers inside their clothing, using body heat to prevent freezing. Imagine tucking a water pouch into a special pocket next to your skin. Not exactly comfortable, but undeniably practical. This technique ensured they always had access to liquid water, even on long, freezing journeys across the tundra. Beyond skin pouches, they occasionally used containers made from wood or bone. These required extra care since they didn't provide the same insulating properties as animal skins. To counteract this, the Inuit would wrap them in layers of fur or skins, adding another barrier against the cold. Placement was also key. Containers were kept in sheltered areas to protect them from icy winds and extreme drops in temperature. This system of water storage highlighted the Inuits' deep resourcefulness. Every material was chosen with purpose, every storage location was carefully selected, and every method was tested through years of experience. They knew that in the Arctic, securing water wasn't just about collecting it. It was about keeping it usable for as long as possible. Think about modern camping. It's not just about finding a water source, but also about ensuring you have a reliable way to carry and store it. The Inuit applied the same principle, but with far greater stakes. Each family typically maintained several water containers of different sizes, reserving larger ones for long-term storage at camp and keeping smaller, more portable ones for travel. These containers required constant maintenance, checking for leaks, replacing worn-out sections, and making sure they remained properly insulated. It was an ongoing effort, but one that ensured they didn't have to start from scratch every time they needed a drink. The ability to efficiently store water meant the difference between having a steady supply and spending hours each day melting ice. It was a lesson in patience, strategy, and survival that was passed down through countless generations. Today, Inuit communities combine their traditional knowledge with modern technology, creating innovative solutions for water collection and storage. While their ancestors relied entirely on ice harvesting and melting, many contemporary Inuit settlements now have access to centralized water distribution systems. That doesn't mean the challenges of water access have disappeared. In the Arctic, keeping water pipes from freezing is an ongoing battle, requiring creative engineering solutions. One of the most fascinating developments is the use of heated conduits called utilizers, large, insulated tunnels that house water and sewage pipes. These underground systems help maintain a stable temperature, preventing the pipes from freezing even in the most extreme winter conditions. Think of utilizers as the Arctic's answer to underground subway tunnels, except instead of transporting people, they transport water, ensuring that it continues to flow despite the brutal cold. These systems are carefully monitored and maintained year-round to prevent breakdowns. For those living outside major settlements, water access is even more challenging. Since running pipes across vast, frozen landscapes isn't always practical, many remote homes rely on an entirely different approach: the water taxi service. But don't expect a traditional boat. These taxis are often snowmobiles outfitted with water tanks, delivering fresh water to homes that don't have direct access to piped water. Imagine a delivery service, but instead of bringing you a pizza, it's delivering life's most essential resource: clean drinking water. Despite these advancements, many Inuit still maintain traditional water collection methods alongside modern conveniences. During winter, some families continue harvesting ice or tapping into known underground water sources. Even with access to water infrastructure, there's a deep cultural value in understanding and respecting the land's natural resources. This blending of old and new showcases the resilience and adaptability of the Inuit people. They've spent centuries perfecting their knowledge of Arctic survival, and even as technology evolves, their traditional skills remain just as relevant. Whether it's through modern engineering or ancestral wisdom, one thing remains constant: their ability to find, store, and protect the most vital resource of all: water. When discussing water usage in the Arctic, the contrast between Inuit households and those in southern Canada is striking. The average Inuit household uses around 20 gallons of water per day, while a typical household in southern Canada consumes approximately 100 gallons. This stark difference highlights not only the logistical challenges of obtaining water in such an extreme environment, but also the Inuits' deep-rooted cultural understanding of water conservation. Every drop is valued, and waste is minimized, a practice that has been essential for survival in a place where water doesn't flow freely from a tap. Water storage methods have also evolved over time. While traditional sealskin water bags were once the go-to solution, they are now gradually being replaced by modern plastic containers. These contemporary options may lack the historical and cultural significance of their predecessors, but they are undeniably more practical for everyday use. Plastic containers are easier to clean, more durable, and less prone to leaks, making them a convenient choice for modern Inuit families. However, this shift hasn't erased the importance of traditional containers entirely. Many Inuit still keep sealskin water bags, reserving them for hunting trips or special occasions where cultural traditions are honored. Despite the availability of modern water infrastructure, ice harvesting remains an important practice in many Inuit communities. Some families continue to gather ice from traditional sources, believing that melted Arctic ice provides a cleaner, crisper taste than treated water. The difference is in the method. Rather than using blubber lamps to melt the ice, many Inuit now rely on electric kettles or stoves. It's a seamless blend of past and present, where modern convenience meets traditional preference. This balance between old and new is a testament to the Inuits' ability to adapt without losing their cultural identity. The evolution of water collection and storage methods isn't just about practicality. It's a reflection of how Inuit traditions have remained resilient in the face of change. By embracing modern technology where it makes life easier while holding on to ancestral knowledge, the Inuit ensure that their deep connection to the land and its resources continues for future generations.